Alright, welcome to Flow Tricks. Today I'm going to give you 5 essential tips to how to supercharge your training. I find that these are very important and they have nothing to do with any specific technique, but it's just an analysis as a whole and it'll make you train a lot more effectively. First, the most important one is understand your learning style. We all have different ways that we learn. I think there's like 5 or so general ways, but myself, I'm a kinesthetic learner. So when I'm spinning my chucks, the chucks feel like comets in my hand. And so the best way that I learn is how it feels rolling through my hand. That's how I identify, that's where I can identify where there's parts where they're slack and not. Now other people may be intellectual learners where they might even be better writing it down and then committing it to memory before they try it. And some people, I've even heard some people are audio learners, meaning that they make sounds to accentuate certain parts of a technique so they know how to keep it on point. The important thing is that if you try to learn in a style that you don't learn best in, you have to kind of work around that, and it takes a lot more energy and effort. It could take you twice as long, if not 3 times as long, to learn the same move just because you haven't translated it. So the goal is understand how you learn, watch something on YouTube, watch a teacher, and then translate it into the best way that you can feed it to yourself so you can supercharge everything that you do. Very important. Study that before you try to learn. Just understand how you learn. It's so important. The second one is when you learn a technique or when you see a technique, learn how to break it apart very slowly. Put it into little bite-sized chunks. I can't accentuate enough how important that is, especially if you see someone else just demonstrating it. Or as a teacher too, a lot of teachers, newer teachers, fall flat in terms of like just giving too much information without breaking it down. For instance, the rotor pass throw, you may see it and say, okay, so I have to go like do this catch and then I have to lift it up and throw it. So there's 2 steps, but really there's a lot. First, step 1, counterclockwise motion. Step 2, your hand moves up in a half arc, so it goes up in this half circle to kind of give it like a drop or a stall. Step 3 is to grab it with your other hand, with your left hand. Step 4 will be to let it go. Step 5 is to rotate your hand, and then step 6 is to lift it up and launch it in the air. Step 7 is going to be to wait for the catch, learn how to spot it, and step 8 would be to grab it with your other hand. So I've taken this technique and broke it down into 8 different parts. Now you may know how to do this and not need to do that, but if you're struggling with the technique, being able to break it down into that small of sections will allow you to see where you're stumbling. As opposed to this where if you're not sure, like if you're throwing the technique but it's just flying out of your hands and you're not sure what happened, you won't know which section of that technique that needs work until you break it into little pieces. So again, it's very important to learn how to break apart your techniques as fine as you can, especially around the trouble areas. If you can just break it into little pieces, it will help you greatly into figuring out problem solving it. The next one, here I have this written down. The next one, of course, is to do it slowly, especially when you first start. This doesn't work for every single technique, obviously. Like, for instance, a finger spin upwards. If you do it too slow, it'll just kind of stop, right? So the goal here is to do it as slow as you possibly can without it actually stopping. And the point of doing it slowly is, again, to understand how it feels at its slowest, most basic level. So do it as slow as possible without interrupting the move. And then you can try to feel it through. Now, this is a good way to understand certain moves, especially more complicated ones. Maybe the X catch is maybe you're just going too fast and it's bouncing off, or you're pushing too hard. But as you do it slowly, identify, just like the last lesson where you can break into little pieces, do it slowly and identify where that problem area is, and it'll help you a lot more. Also, if you want a lot of speed in your chucks, if you want to be able to do it fast, you have to look at everything at a very slow rate, and then you're going to just kind of examine, make sure that there's no big flaws in any part of the technique. If there is, as you do it slowly, it'll help you to understand where it needs to be put out. Again, if you do it at normal speed, that's fine, but sometimes your muscle memory needs it committed slowly before you go fast. I'm dog sitting, by the way. Next one is the exact opposite, which is do it quickly. Doing the move quickly is the exact opposite. It's right after you accomplish doing it slowly. Now this, again, has to be used very carefully. You don't just do everything quickly. What I mean by do it quickly is once you're able to do it slowly, gradually ramp up the speed. You're going to do it as fast as you can without losing control. What this is going to give you is a sense of where your boundaries are. You want to see where's the absolute slowest I can do this move and the absolute fastest I can do this move. Generally speaking, you're going to be in the middle. You're not going to do either of them. But understanding this will give you the full scope of the move in terms of how fast and how slow you can do it. At higher speeds, it becomes more dangerous. So be careful. Make sure you have your planes down. Make sure you can do it slowly. Make sure you have control first. But as you go fast, it's going to give you a different feel for the technique. And there's some techniques that require a lot of oomph in order for it to catch. Not all of them, though. Make sure you understand which one. Some of them require a lot of subtlety and slowness. Some require speed. But having the slow to fast and knowing like where it is in there will help you to understand where you need to be in your flow. Plus, it also gives you speed variety. So you don't just do the same move over and over again at the same speed. You can go fast, you can go slow, you can speed it up at certain parts and slow it down. You can have accentuations that you wouldn't have if you always practiced at the same speed. So go slow and go fast. And the last one is also a very important one. This is something that athletes do a lot, which is most of the time you're putting in way too much effort. You're putting in way too much work. Now, going slow is going to help you with this. The goal is you have a machete and you're chopping off all the extra fluff. Just get rid of all the excess. The goal is to go as minimal effort, as small amount of effort, the littlest amount of effort you possibly can to make it work. That means you're relaxed most of the time unless you need to not be relaxed. Not only will this allow you to spin a lot longer, but what you'll find is you'll get a lot more speed, because if you're loose like a belt, you can snap it a lot easier than if you're tense and tight. When you have extra movement that's not necessary, it'll slow your flow down, and it also can slow down the technique itself or make it even work against itself. So the goal is cut away the excess. And those are the 5 tips. Now, some of these tips are exact opposite when you want to try to innovate and create new techniques. You might even do a lot of different things. For instance, you would add on if you're trying to change the move, and you would rearrange like that. So that's a whole nother ballpark. But I wanted to give you guys 5 essential tips that I think are fantastic. It's helped me with nunchuck, staff, double staff, and just about everything I do, and I hope it helps you too. So hope this helps, and yeah, hope you all have a great weekend. Happy Father's Day.